Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications to catch our deep dives into global politics. Today, we're breaking down two massive stories rocking the Middle East. A U.S. ceasefire with Yemen's Houthis and the release of American hostage Eden Alexander by Hamas. What's driving these deals? How do they shake things up for allies like Israel? And what lessons are out there for the world? Grab a drink, hit like, and let's jump into this high-stakes drama. Here we go. The Middle East is like a chessboard, and in May 2025, Trump's making some bold moves. On May 6th, the U.S. signs a ceasefire with the Houthis, a rebel group in Yemen, to stop their attacks on American ships in the Red Sea. 5 days later, on May 11th, Hamas, the militant group running Gaza, announces they're freeing Eden Alexander, a 21-year-old American-Israeli held hostage since October 2023. These aren't random plays. They're part of Trump's style. Start with shocking bets, then pivot to practical deals. So, what's the backstory, and why should you care? Let's rewind. The Houthis, a Shia militia backed by Iran, have been fighting Yemen's government since 2014. They took over the capital, Sana'a, and by 2023, they were firing missiles at ships in the Red Sea, saying it's to support Palestinians in Gaza. Their attacks hit U.S. and Israeli-linked vessels, jacking up oil prices and slowing global trade. Imagine paying $5 a gallon for gas. That's the ripple effect. In Gaza, Hamas, a Sunni group in power since 2007, launched a brutal attack on Israel on October 7, 2023. They killed 1,100 people, kidnapped 251, including Americans like Eden, and sparked a war that's left Gaza in ruins, with over 40,000 dead and 2 million displaced. Trump's response is classic him. Earlier this year, he shocked the world by proposing a Riviera for Gaza, a plan to move 2.3 million Palestinians to places like Egypt or Jordan and rebuild the area as a luxury hub. Arab leaders called it crazy, and the UN warned it could worsen the humanitarian crisis, with 80% of Gazans already needing aid. Against the Houthis, Trump vowed to crush them, launching over 1,000 U.S. airstrikes since 2023, hitting their bases and weapons caches. But then he shifts gears. The Houthi ceasefire protects U.S. trade, and Eden's release gets an American home. It's Trump playing high-stakes poker, big bluffs, then deals. Social media lit up. Supporters on X cheered Trump, saying he never leaves Americans behind. Critics argued that freeing one hostage doesn't fix Gaza's misery, where kids go hungry daily. The ceasefire drew fire too, with some saying it lets the Houthis off easy. For the U.S., these moves are about keeping goods flowing and citizens safe. For allies like Israel, it's a different story, one of tough challenges and unanswered questions. What's America thinking about these deals? Let's dive in. In America, Trump's moves are seen as big wins. The ceasefire with the Houthis, signed on May 6, 2025, stopped their attacks on U.S. ships in the Red Sea, a trade route carrying 15% of global shipping. That's a lifeline for American businesses, keeping gas prices and grocery costs from skyrocketing. The White House posted on X, calling it a huge victory for our economy and security, and it got over 600,000 views. Then there's Eden Alexander's release. Getting a 21-year-old American home after 580 days in Hamas's grip? That's the kind of story that makes headlines and warms hearts. Eden's story hits close to home. A New Jersey kid, he was serving in the Israeli army when Hamas snatched him on October 7, 2023. His family lived in fear, with his mom, Yael, holding candlelight vigils and begging for news. Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, worked with Qatar and Egypt to free him, and Yael's tearful thank you to Trump aired on every major network. On X, supporters went wild. One user called it proof Trump delivers, while another hailed him as the best friend Americans could have. Even Auburn's basketball coach Bruce Pearl posted prayers for Eden, thanking Trump for bringing him home. But not everyone's on board. Some Americans see cracks in the deals. On X, a user praised Eden's release but asked, what about the other hostages? Democrats like Senator Elizabeth Warren warned the Houthi ceasefire could embolden Iran-backed groups, pointing to their ties with Hezbollah. Think tanks like the Brookings Institution argued that focusing only on American citizens, Hamas held 7, now down to 0 after Edan and 4 bodies were released, might leave allies feeling ignored. A CNN analyst noted that U.S. gas prices dropped 5% post-ceasefire, but warned of long-term risks if the Houthis regroup. Republicans, though, are all in. House Speaker Mike Johnson called the ceasefire smart for our wallets, and Senator Ted Cruz said Eden's release shows Trump's strength. For everyday Americans, it's personal. Take John, a truck driver in Ohio, who told a local news station, "Lower gas prices mean I can feed my kids." Or Lisa, a mom in Florida, who said Eden's story reminded her of her own son in the military. These deals play well on TV and social media, but they were made without much input from Israel. Is America going it alone? Let's see what Israel's facing. Israel's in a tight spot, and these deals aren't helping. The U.S. Houthi ceasefire on May 6, 2025 was a win for American ships, but it left Israel wide open. Just 2 days earlier, a Houthi missile slammed near Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport, halting flights and sending travelers scrambling. The missile, boasted as hypersonic by the Houthis, slipped past Israel's Iron Dome and David Sling defenses, a rare failure that shook the nation. Defense Minister Israel Katz vowed a 7-fold response, but the damage was done. Israelis felt vulnerable. Sarah, a Tel Aviv mom, was at Ben Gurion when the sirens blared. "It was chaos," she told a local newspaper. "I grabbed my kids and ran, thinking, if our shields fail, what's next?" On X, Israelis vented their fears. One user wrote, "Houthis hit our airport and the U.S. makes a deal. Where's our ally?" The ceasefire caught Israel off guard. A senior official said they expected a heads-up from Washington, but got none. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, facing backlash, reportedly called Trump to demand better coordination. The attack wasn't just a one-off. Communities near Gaza, like Sderot, live under constant rocket alerts, with families like the Cohens spending nights in bomb shelters. "We feel alone," said Miriam Cohen, a teacher, in a radio interview. In the Knesset, debates raged, with opposition leader Yair Lapid accusing Netanyahu of losing America's ear. Protests flared in Jerusalem, with signs reading, "No ally, no peace." The Houthi threat, backed by Iran's missiles, has Israel on edge, and the U.S. deal feels like a step back. Eden Alexander's release is a small victory, but it's bittersweet. Eden, a dual Israeli-American, was freed as a gesture to Trump, and his family in Israel was overjoyed. His mom, Yael, called it a miracle on TV, hugging relatives in tears. But Hamas still holds 58 hostages, mostly Israelis, including kids and elderly. The deal, struck through Qatar and Egypt, didn't involve Israel, sparking outrage. On X, a user asked, "Why an IDF soldier first, not civilians?" Tel Aviv saw protests, with families chanting, "Bring them all home." Israel worries their goals, freeing everyone, crushing Hamas, are slipping away. Can they keep the U.S. alliance strong? Let's explore how Trump's bets led here. Trump's strategy is like a high-stakes poker game. He bets big, shakes the table, then plays a new hand. Let's split this into two: the Houthi conflict and Gaza's gambit. The Houthis have been trouble since 2023, firing missiles and drones at ships in the Red Sea, hiking global prices. The U.S. hit back with over 1,000 airstrikes, using F-18 jets and Tomahawk missiles to target Houthi radar, launch sites, and command centers. The cost? Over $5 billion by 2025, with 50 civilian deaths reported, fueling anti-American protests in Yemen. Trump initially promised to obliterate the Houthis, and his base cheered. On X, a supporter called it America showing muscle. But the Houthis, hiding in Yemen's mountains, kept fighting. Their Iranian-supplied drones and ballistic missiles hit back, disrupting 12% of global trade. It's a grim reminder of Iraq, where the U.S. spent $2 trillion fighting insurgents, or Afghanistan's $6 trillion slog. By 2025, Pentagon reports warned of a stalemate with Houthi resilience driven by Iran's weapons and training. A retired general told a news outlet, "You can't bomb caves into submission." Trump pivoted. The May 6th ceasefire, brokered by Oman, stopped U.S. strikes for Houthi promises to spare American ships. It was a realignment to avoid a quagmire, saving U.S. dollars, but leaving Israel to face Houthi attacks, like the missile that hit near Ben Gurion Airport. In Gaza, Trump's bet was wilder. He proposed a Riviera, moving 2.3 million Palestinians to Egypt or Jordan, and rebuilding Gaza with skyscrapers and resorts. Egypt's President Sisi slammed it as impossible, warning of a refugee crisis. Jordan's King Abdullah said it would destabilize the region. The UN called it a humanitarian disaster, and European allies like France urged caution. On X, a user mocked it as Trump's Hollywood fantasy. Even Saudi Arabia, a U.S. partner, stayed quiet, wary of backlash. Was it serious? Probably not. The Riviera was a shock to rattle adversaries and allies. Hamas responded by freeing Eden Alexander, a 21-year-old held in Gaza's tunnels, calling it a gesture to Trump. The deal, through Qatar and Egypt, showed Hamas was ready to negotiate. But only for one American, not the 58 other hostages. Trump's bold talk opened the door, but the realignment left Israel wanting more. A Jerusalem shopkeeper, Avi, told a reporter, "One home is good, but my cousin's still trapped." How are Trump's enemies playing this game? Let's find out. Hamas and the Houthis aren't just reacting. They're reading Trump's playbook and countering cleverly. Start with the Houthis. After the U.S. ceasefire on May 6th, they didn't stop. They targeted Israel, launching a missile near Ben Gurion Airport on May 4th, slipping past Israel's defenses. A Houthi official posted on X, vowing to strike until Palestine is free. Their leader, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, gave a fiery speech, claiming their Iranian-made missiles showed unstoppable power. The Houthis have history here. In 2019, they hit Saudi oil fields with drones, proving they can strike far and hard. With the U.S. off their backs, the Houthis focus on Israel, betting Tel Aviv can't counter them alone. Iran's support, drones, missiles, funds, gives them an edge. They use propaganda too, airing videos of their attacks to rally supporters. A Yemeni student in Sana'a told a news outlet, "We see the Houthis as heroes for Palestine. They're exploiting the ceasefire to pressure Israel, knowing Trump's deal leaves him neutral. It's a calculated move to keep the fight alive while dodging American firepower. Hamas is just as sharp." Freeing Eden Alexander was strategic. Eden, kidnapped at 21, spent 580 days in Gaza's dark tunnels, facing hunger and fear. Hamas released a propaganda video showing him weak but alive, tugging at heartstrings. Their gesture to Trump, timed before his May 13th Middle East visit, was no accident. Hamas's leader, Ismail Haniyeh, said through Qatari mediators that it was to open talks for a ceasefire and aid for Gaza, where 90% of people face food shortages. But with 58 hostages still held, Hamas keeps leverage. On X, a user claimed Hamas got promises for bigger deals, possibly cutting Israel out. Hamas knows this game. In 2011, they traded 1,027 prisoners for one Israeli soldier, Gilad Shalit, showing their deal-making skills. Now they see Trump's pattern. Big bets, then negotiations. They're offering just enough, a single hostage, to keep him talking, betting he'll push for more. This puts Israel in a tough spot, facing Houthi missiles and stalled hostage talks. Are Trump's enemies outplaying him, or is he still ahead? Let's see what allies are learning. What's the takeaway for allies like Israel? Trump's moves, the Houthi ceasefire, Eden Alexander's release, show a pattern. Bold bets, then deals. Allies are learning they need to hustle to stay in the game. Israel's feeling the heat. The ceasefire left them dodging Houthi missiles, with no U.S. help. The Hamas deal freed an American, but 58 hostages, mostly Israelis, are still trapped, and Israel wasn't at the table. An ex-user summed it up. Trump gets results, but allies need to fight for their voice. Israel's not alone. Saudi Arabia, a U.S. ally, watched Trump negotiate with their enemies, Houthi and Iran, without much heads up. Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman pushed for U.S. security guarantees in 2023, but learned Trump likes quick wins, not long promises. Jordan got a scare when Trump's Riviera plan threatened to flood them with Palestinian refugees. King Abdullah shut it down, saying, "Jordan won't be Gaza's dumping ground." Even NATO allies like the UK are nervous. Their foreign secretary warned that Trump's style could weaken global coalitions. Other allies are watching. South Korea, a U.S. partner, faced Trump's trade threats in 2018 and learned to negotiate fast to avoid tariffs. Japan did the same, securing a trade deal in 2019 by aligning with Trump's demands. These cases show allies must adapt. Israel's stepping up. Netanyahu's planning a Washington trip to sync with Trump, and some officials are eyeing direct talks with Hamas, like Qatar does. History backs this. In 2020, Israel used Trump's Abraham Accords to normalize ties with the UAE and Bahrain, but only by staying close to his agenda. The challenge is staying relevant. Israel's protests, with families begging for hostages, show they're under pressure. A Tel Aviv dad told a news outlet, "I want my daughter back, but we need America." Allies like France or Canada, part of NATO, are rethinking how to handle Trump's unpredictable moves. If sidelined, some might flirt with China or Russia, who are eyeing Middle East trade routes. The US-Israel bond, with $3.8 billion in annual aid, is solid, but allies are learning to play smarter. What would you do if your ally cut a deal behind your back? Where's the Middle East headed? Trump's moves have flipped the board, but the game's just starting. The Houthi ceasefire and Idan Alexander's release are opening plays, setting up bigger ones. Hamas is pushing for a full ceasefire, with an ex-user hinting at a US-Hamas deal that could leave Israel out. If that happens, Israel faces a hard choice. Accept a deal they didn't shape or ramp up their Gaza campaign, risking thousands more lives. The 58 hostages, including kids and grandparents, are caught in the middle, their families holding out hope. The Houthis are a wild card. Their Ben Gurion attack proved they can hit hard, and Iran's missiles keep them loaded. Without US strikes, Israel's on its own, and Trump's promise to address future Houthi attacks is vague. Will he send ships back? Push UN sanctions? Or talk to Iran? Trump hinted at a new approach with Tehran in a recent speech, sparking rumors of secret talks. A US-Iran deal could cool tensions, or ignite them if Israel feels betrayed. Globally, the stakes are huge. Houthi attacks could spike oil prices again, hitting wallets from Chicago to Tokyo. Gaza's crisis, with 2 million displaced, needs billions in aid, but Trump's Riviera plan scared off donors. Imagine a small country like Qatar, a US ally. Their foreign minister might think, if Trump cuts deals without us, do we need new friends? Russia and China are watching, offering trade deals to Middle East nations. The US-Israel alliance, backed by billions, is strong, but cracks could grow if Trump keeps going solo. What's your take? Can Trump juggle these deals and keep allies happy? Will Israel adapt, or will tensions boil over? Drop your thoughts below. This story's got a lot more to tell. That's a wrap, folks. Thanks for diving into this Middle East breakdown with me. If you enjoyed it, smash that like button and share with friends. Want more global insights? Subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. Tell me in the comments, what's next for Trump, Israel, or the region? Join the conversation on social media and check our Patreon for exclusive content. Nobody can accuse Trump of not fighting for a great America, but what do you think about his moves? Let's keep talking. See you in the next video. Stay curious and stay tuned.